morning, Church Requel. How awesome to be here with you today. What an exciting topic that we have. As you can see from the lead-in video, we're going to be talking about the relationship between parents and children today. We've been working our way through Ephesians chapter 4, 5, and 6. For those of you who may be our guests and you have just caught us at chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. Kind of excited about that. Today we're going to talk about that very special bond, that very special relationship between parents and children. Life changes. Anybody notice this? Life changes when children come into the picture. We have, of course, new reasons to wake up every morning, sometimes in the middle of the morning. I'm really excited because my daughter Jillian is very close to being a mother. I don't know how many of you got a chance to see her last week, but yeah, 35 weeks. She's due on January the 1st. So yeah, I'm excited. She will bear my 8th grandchild. So pretty pumped. I have learned, maybe some of you other grandparents have learned this too, that children are most appreciative of their parents after they've become a parent themselves. Well, the Bible has really good advice for us this morning. Let's take a look, if you have your Bibles, to Ephesians chapter 6, verses 1 through 4. And I'm going to be reading out of my ESV Bible, but most of the verses in our program will be out of the NIV this morning. It's not up in your screen. Just follow along. Just 4 verses. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother. This is the first commandment with a promise, that it may go well with you and that you may live long in the land. Fathers, do not provoke, or in the NIV, exasperate your children to anger, but bring them up in the discipline and the instruction of the Lord. Now, we have sent our children downstairs this morning, so for the most part, this morning I'm talking to you parents. Now, for those of you who aren't a parent, don't have children, listen in. This is still great advice for grandparents, still great advice for people without children, a lot of relationship stuff here. And after all, one of the things that we as a church take on the responsibility for is all of our children together, don't we? I was just thrilled this past week to find out that one of our young mothers needed a date night out with the husband, and one of you volunteered to babysit for her. You know, that's the kind of thing that we're talking about here as taking care of our kids. Now, according to this scripture, children obeying their parents is one sign that they belong to the Lord. Honoring parents, again, according to the commandments, one of the commandments that we see in the Big Ten, right, provides 2 benefits: a higher quality of life and a longer quantity of life. So parents, if you want the very best for your children, you're going to want to help them to honor and obey. Now, how do we do that? We do that by becoming model parents ourselves. And that's what I want to talk to you about, model parenting. And we're going to use the acronym for model, M-O-D-E-L, as our outline today. Let's take a look at this verse 4 one more time. This time I'm going to read it out of the Message version. Fathers, don't exasperate your children by coming down hard on them. Take them by the hand and lead them in the way of the master. Now, this instruction in our Bibles are written to fathers, but can we all agree this morning that mothers can exasperate their children just as easily as fathers can? And especially in today's culture of single-parent homes, this instruction, I think, is well heeded by all parents, regardless of their gender. Take them, lead them in the way of the master. In other words, parents, in order for you to do this modeling, you must first be a Christ follower yourselves in order for you to model it in front of your children. This is actually, moms and dads, this is your number 1 job, to model and to instruct them and to lead them into the way of the Master Jesus. So how do we do this? Well, let's take a look. 5 instructions we're going to see today from the Word of God. M-O-D-E-L, how to be a model parent. Let's start with the M, manage my time wisely. Parents, you want to manage your time. You've got to manage your time wisely. Ephesians 5:15, which we've already looked at, but I want to review again from the NRSV. Be careful then how you live, not as unwise people, but as wise, making the most of the time. Underline that. Making the most of the time because the days are evil. Now, we're revisiting our talk from November the 2nd. This is really the starting point. When you become a mom or dad, your time is no longer yours alone. This past week, I don't know why, but I woke up one day at 4 a.m., and I have learned 2 things: that when I wake up in the middle of the night, I should pray. And for whatever reason, I often will also check Facebook. I don't know why those 2 things go hand in hand. But I did, and as I checked just 5 minutes before, my oldest daughter, Jennifer, had posted that baby Theo was keeping her up all night long. And this is what she said: "Anybody's up right now, would you pray for me?" Yeah, so, I just say, yeah, okay, God, I get the message. I am praying. Your time, even sleeping time, Mom and Dad, is no longer yours alone. It's crazy how much you have to juggle your schedule, your kids' schedule. You have to do everything you can to make the most of your time. Because without your deliberate efforts, without you really working at this, your days will get away from you. I mean, it's tough, really, when everything goes right, let alone when things go wrong. I mean, and any parent will tell you that things don't go right all the time. In fact, things rarely go right all the time. But, there are some days that really do seem straight from hell. I mean, the days are evil. You just don't have to tell Mom and Dad that. You have everything figured out, and then things just go right to hell in the handbasket. The days are evil. That's what we read here. When Mary Kay and I had just 2 children before Jessica and Jillian came along. Jonathan and Jennifer were just real young, and we were out actually shopping down in Columbus, shopping for bedroom furniture for my son, Jonathan. And we were on one side of the store, and the kids were kind of wherever they were, probably not the way to actually do it because we knew they were there somewhere, but all of a sudden, we knew exactly where they were because Jonathan lets out this blood-curdling scream, and we find out very quickly that he had inserted a finger where it didn't belong, and Jennifer had obliged him by shutting the lid and pretty much snapping it off. And, that was a tough day. But it got tougher because, as we call an ambulance to come and get Jonathan and Mary Kay, they get into the ambulance, and Mary Kay and I get into the car, Mary Kay and Jennifer are in the ambulance, and I said that all wrong. Jonathan is the one who snapped his finger out. He's in the ambulance with Mary Kay. I'm following, and I still have Jennifer. And we are trying desperately to follow an ambulance. Not a good idea because, the ambulance is going really fast. I should have been driving more carefully. But, as a dad, you get kind of concerned. You want to be there. And no lie, right in the middle of this, a tornado strikes in Columbus right over our heads. And, the places are flooding. There's water everywhere. I'm kind of skidding. I'm literally planing. And it's like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. And we get to the hospital trying to get in, and everybody's trying to get out because of the tornado. Parents, some days are just like that. And all of you could tell me your son breaks a finger on the way to the hospital, tornado strike stories, right? That's just the way it is sometimes. So you've got to make the most of your time. You've got to schedule. You've got to prioritize. You have to learn, parents, especially today, the fine art of saying no. Because your kids today will have more opportunities to say yes to things than what you have time to do. And then if you have multiple children, just multiply that over and over again. Right? So Remember to rest. You put your kids to bed on time, right? Make the most of your time. You make them go to bed on time. Parents, you got to go to bed on time. Honestly, because what you want to do is finally, oh my gosh, I finally get, time to myself. I think I'll just stay up and watch the late show. And what happens? The next day, you're dead. You got to make the most of your time. Meals, you make sure they eat right. Moms and dads, you have to eat right. Okay? Make the most of every opportunity. Manage your time wisely. And then O, model, M-O-D-E-L. O, observe teachable moments intentionally. Observe teachable moments intentionally. Now we're going to dip back into the Old Testament from Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 7, and the Living Bible goes this way. Moms and dads, you must teach them, and the them are God's commandments. You must teach God's commandments to your children and talk about them when you're at home or out for a walk, at bedtime, and the first thing in the morning. This means the means by which God plans on people learning the faith in God is not a great evangelical strategy of the church. I mean, we have kids men here, and we want to teach our children as best we can the important lessons of the Bible. But God has always had this important 3-step process for how children learn about God. It's 3 steps, and it's always been this way for thousands of years. Step number 1, parents have children. That's step number 1. If you're doing that, you're following God's plan. Step number 1. Step number 2, parents spend time with children. Step number 1, parents have children. Step number 2, parents spend time with said children. And then that leads us to step number 3. While the parent is spending time with their children, then parents teach their children about God and His commandments. Moms and dads, you don't have to know it all. You don't have to worry about what to say or when to say it. If you're living for the Lord, if you're doing that very first thing that we talked about, if you're modeling your Christianity before them, your children will see it and they will ask you questions. You just have to answer in the very best way that you can. See, here's an important thing for you to realize when it comes to faith. Faith is always more caught than taught. And if you're modeling in front of them, you're going to find great opportunities for teaching moments. And you just need to be intentional when you see that teaching moment to jump right in there. Along the way, as you're modeling this working faith before them, this is not a theoretical faith. This is not a theological faith. This is a working faith. They're going to see it. In other words, it's okay for you not to have all the answers. You don't know why you do all the things that you do. You don't know what everything is about in the Bible, and yet you still have faith. It's okay to even struggle in your faith. It's okay for you to even fail in your faith. Your children will see the struggle. They will understand that you're not perfect, but they will see your priority, even if you don't execute it perfectly. And let's face it, none of us do. When I was a young boy, my mom took on the desire, she took on the obligation, she took on the commitment and made it public to me that she was going to pray every day. And she did sometimes. But see, it wasn't that she executed that perfectly, it was that I saw that she wanted to and that she made the commitment. I remember as a young child, and I think one of the primary reasons why I am standing in front of you as a pastor today is that on Saturday mornings, I would go down to the church with my dad to set up chairs for the Sunday school class. He wanted everything just to be set up right. So for those of you who wonder where I get that from, that's where I get it from. I remember my dad setting up for Sunday school. I remember when I was a child and I was out camping with my mom and dad up in Canada, and Grandma was with us, and the bear came into the tent, and Grandma grabbed us kids in the back corner of the tent. I mean, what would that have done to a bear, right? But what she did was I remember, man, my grandma was big. I had a big old grandma, okay? And I was just folded into Grandma while she prayed. And I'm here today. The bear went away. All right? So, model, M, right? When you're thinking about this, manage your time. Manage your time. O, observe, look for those teaching moments intentionally. And then we get to D. D is one of my favorite things, and for many of you dads, you'll love this. D, do fun stuff regularly. Yeah, do some fun stuff as a family. Ecclesiastes 8:15, you probably wouldn't have thought about this verse in this light, but I love it for this purpose. So I recommend, the writer is saying, I recommend having fun. Because there's nothing better for people to do in this world than to eat, drink, and enjoy life. What you might remember as eat, drink, and be merry. That way, they will experience some happiness along with all the hard work God gives to them. So parents, lighten up. Have some fun. Enjoy your kids. Do some fun things with them. Do the things that they love to do. Do some of the things that you love to do. And this all comes back to that M. Manage time, because if you're not careful, you'll schedule so many automatic things that are going on in your kids' life and in your life that you don't have time for those exceptional moments just to have fun in life. But if you are a scheduler, then schedule some fun. Put it on the calendar. Again, I so admire John and Beth, who prioritize the fun of going to the library with my grandkids every week. That's fun. That's great. I so admire Eddie and Brandy. I see their pictures when they go to sporting events. They love sports, and so what do? They take their kids with them. It's fun. Your children will always remember the fun times that you've had with them. More important, they will learn some great lessons of joy, that it's okay to enjoy life, and that it's okay to have great happiness with your family. When Mary Kay and I were just young parents, and our children were very young, we made the priority decision to not wait until we retired and had money to buy a motorhome to go on vacation with. And my kids all remember, we went to 44 different states while they were growing up in a motorhome that lasted for about 16 years, and then we sold it for 1 year of tuition for Jennifer going to college. Okay? Now, one of the things that really is special about that is that when my son got old enough to put some cash in the bank, the very first thing he did for his family was to go out and buy a used motorhome so that they could have fun with their kids. Do you see? It's a generational thing. You pass it on, and they pass it on. So ask yourself, are you passing on some fun, memorable moments that when they think of family, they think of the good times? And they want to have the same for themselves. So manage your time wisely. Observe teachable moments. Do fun things together. And then E, and I want to spend a little bit of time here with you today. E, encourage my children verbally. Encourage my children verbally. Ephesians 4:29. Again, we've taken a look at this, but I want to come back and talk about it in more detail. Do not say harmful things, but say what people need. Words that will help others become stronger. Now, clearly, this is a verse that's written to all of us, so you don't have to be a parent to listen into this part, but especially you parents, you need to know this as far as how you model correctly in front of your children. You need to encourage your children verbally. And so for you moms and dads, I want you to look at this verse, Ephesians 4:29 again, and I want you to substitute children for parents, or for people and others that you see in this verse, right? Do not say harmful things, but say what children need. Words that will help them become stronger. Okay, that's what you want to do. There's no place where this verse is more appropriate than in the family life. Because parents give their words to their kids. That's just like a present that you would give them, your words, if they are encouraging. Words are powerful. Some of you, even now, remember the negative side of this story, negative words that maybe your mom and dad said to you that have stayed with you forever. But I want you to know that this principle works in both directions, for the positive as well as for the negative. And if you are feeding positive words into your children's life, words of affirmation and encouragement, they will take that with them forever. So let me help you with this. By the way, parents, if you really want to get down deep into this and you really want to study this, the book you want to go to is the book of Proverbs. It is like the parenting manual. And just every time it talks about, people, you just put parents and children in there and you'll get the same thing. But I'm just going to take 3 verses from Proverbs and we'll talk about how to encourage our children verbally. What to do, what to remember when. 3 lessons. First of all, what to remember when my child is angry. What to remember when my child is angry. Proverbs 15:1 gives us the answer. A gentle answer will calm a person's anger, but an unkind answer will cause more anger. Again, mom and dad, put children in there. Right? A gentle answer will calm my child's anger, but an unkind answer will cause more anger. Can I give you some truth that it doesn't take too much to figure out that you already know? Children do not have the emotional maturity of adults. They just don't. They don't have the emotional maturity of you, mom and dad. They can lose their temper, and they can throw a tantrum all out of proportion to the situation. Not at all like adults. Seriously. How do you respond when a child is throwing a temper tantrum? When he's angry? See, it's really easy, like it's default easy, for you to respond emotionally and to mirror the child emotionally. To raise our voice, to go into that harsh parent mode, to be unkind. What's the verse say? A gentle answer will calm a person's anger, but an unkind answer will just cause more anger. And it's easy for us to reply unkindly. Proverbs tells us this just causes more anger. What does it say in this verse is the key? Gentleness. Gentleness. Gentle doesn't mean that you lose power. It doesn't mean that you lose authority. Really, the word for gentleness in the Bible literally means power under control. You're bigger than they are. You have more power than they do, but you have it under control. It means power under control. When your child is angry, you respond with gentle, power under control, kindness that gives some space for the child to calm down and to de-escalate. So what to do when my child is angry? What about the second one? What to do when my child has failed? When my child has failed. How can I provide some encouraging words when my child has failed? Let's take a look at another verse from Proverbs chapter 15. This time, let's go to verse 4. Remember that kind words are good medicine, but deceitful words can really hurt. Remember that kind words are good medicine, but deceitful words can really hurt. The reality of childhood, actually this is true of all of life, but the reality of childhood is to fail, correct, and move on. That's true for you as parents. It's true for you as adults. It's also true of the kids. I mean, stop and think about your children physically. How do they learn how to walk? It's this process, isn't it? Fail, correct, and move on. And they just do it naturally. You don't have to tell a kid once he's trying to walk and he falls down. He doesn't give up and that's the end of it. He keeps trying until he can do it. Now, this is how we all, but especially children, this is how we learn. Not only physically, but emotionally, academically, socially, every area of our life. Fail, pick ourselves up, correct, and move on. Now, I've noticed something over the last 30 or so years, that there is a great temptation today in our society to not acknowledge a child's failure. And I think it's wrong. It gives a great disservice, a grave disservice to our children. Because let me tell you something, if you don't know it, they know they have failed when they fail. And when we tell them that they didn't really fail, it's, what's the word in this verse? Deceitful. And mom and dad, sometimes with the best of intention, you can be deceitful to your children. But I want to also tell you that well-intentioned deceit still hurts. It's better to acknowledge the failure along with the acceptance of the person and to help them recover from failure. Often, when we were raising our children, I would have to remember to say, it would just be almost a force kind of thing, but it was true, and we knew it was true, even if we were frustrated, and we'll talk about the frustration here in a moment. But to say, oh, I love you. You are terrific. Wow, you're awesome. That was pretty stinky. That's not you. That's not acceptable. We don't do that in this family. But you're great. We just got to connect the right action. That action was bad. But you're wonderful. You get the difference? And so often we connect who they are with what they've done, when we really need to correct what they've done and affirm our love for them. So how do we do that? 4 A's, real quick, mini sermon within a sermon, 4 A's. Here's how you do it. Affirm your love. Affirm your love. Acknowledge the failure. So affirm your love, but acknowledge the failure. Aim for success. Love you, hate the action. Here's the right way. Okay? Affirm your love, acknowledge the failure, aim for success, advance the correction. Sometimes you have to correct your child. Actually, often you have to correct your child. All right? So those are the 4 A's. What to do when my child has failed. They will love you for it. They will grow up. They will mature. And when they have kids someday, they'll come back and say, wow, you were great parents. It may take till then for them to acknowledge that, but it will happen. One more thing about this idea of encouraging my child verbally, and then we'll move on. What do I do when my child's behavior has me frustrated? Okay, what do I do when my child's behavior, what do I have to remember when my child's behavior has me frustrated? Again, let's go to Proverbs 15, our parents' manual, this time verse 18. Losing your temper causes a lot of trouble, but staying calm settles arguments. So here we're changing the focus from the child to the parent, because sometimes, as we were all laughing before, sometimes it's not the child who has thrown the temper tantrum, but it's the parent. What do you do when your kid has really blown it? They knew it was wrong. You told them it was wrong. They knew it was wrong, and they did it anyway. You just told them not to do it, and they did it anyway. You have tried everything you know to do. You have read the manuals. You have talked to mom and dad. You have talked to other parents. You have tried to get a hold of this thing, and they still do the wrong thing. And can I just get right to the nub of it? Sometimes, especially if this is in public, you're embarrassed. You're frustrated. you're angry. And parents, if you say that's never happened to you yet, it's only because of one of two things. Either you're not fully acknowledging the truth, or you just haven't had enough children yet. Mary Kay and I thought we were great parents. We did. We had Jennifer and we had Jonathan. Oh, they were such, I mean, you told them what to do and they did it and they made us look good. And then Jessica comes along. I thought I was hot stuff in the parenting mode until Jessica became a teenager. And Jessica knows this. We've had this conversation. I've told her often, I even told her back then, but not as kindly, that she really should become a lawyer because she knows how to argue. She knows what to say, and she knew what to say to push my buttons. Now, some of you have children like that. All right? What do you do when you are a parent and you are frustrated with a child? Well, two things. According to Proverbs 15:18, and I'm going to give you the answer here, and then I'm going to tell you why this doesn't work the way it appears to. All right? Number one, what does it say in verse 18? Don't lose your temper. And number two, remain calm. Do you see that? All right, let me just read that verse to you. Losing your temper causes a lot of trouble, but staying calm settles arguments. Do you see that? And so here I am. I'm a parent and I'm a pastor, and I'm talking to you and I'm giving you this advice. But then I'm also going to admit to you that this Proverbs, while being absolutely correct, is at the same time fatally flawed by itself. Let me explain both to you. First, how helpful is it, really? How helpful is it to remember or to be told not to lose your temper when you're in the process of losing your temper? Does anybody find that helpful? Because this is rational advice, right? It's rational advice. We'll all say, yeah, that's rational advice. That makes sense. Given in a very irrational moment. And rational advice in an irrational moment, there's a saying, and some of you parents have heard it, and I just want to acknowledge it, all right? When parents say that their kids are literally driving them out of their minds, it's true. We were all such great people before we had kids. The other reason this advice is fatally flawed, because once you've lost your temper in front of your kids, and you will, or you have, or it'll happen, it's almost impossible then to stay calm. It's almost impossible. You find yourself, you have to backtrack. You have to walk it back. You lose credibility. You're basically saying, you really shouldn't lose your temper, and I'm really sorry I just did. And any parent who says they haven't had that conversation, like I say, you're either lying or you just haven't had the right kid yet. All right? But that's how it's, I've had to do that on multiple occasions. I am so sorry. I've blown it. And so I think you have to do that. Otherwise, you completely lose credibility. So here's some good parenting advice to be able to apply Proverbs 15:18. Maybe the best advice that I give you today, if you find that something your child is doing is just causing you to go berserk, here's what you got to do. Get space. Buy some time. Walk away. Better yet, send the child away. Send the child to his room, or send the child someplace where he can be away from you. When we were children, we always thought that was because they were punishing us to seclude us. When we become parents, we realize it's because the parent at that moment really doesn't want to murder their children. You got to do that sometimes. Send the child away. You gain control of yourself. Get yourself calmed down. And then you respond. You don't react. Okay? Moms and dads? It's not cool to lose your temper and do things that happen when you lose your temper in front of your kids. Buy time, get space, and then respond, don't react. Okay? We all cool with that? So let's look at the MODE, the mode that we've got so far. What have we picked up so far? First of all, the M, that we want to manage my time. The O, we want to observe teachable moments intentionally. The D, we want to do fun things together. And then the E, encourage the child verbally. And now let's get to the last L, and we'll wrap it up here. L, learn from difficulties humbly. Learn from difficulties humbly. Parenting is always easier, it seems, before we become parents. I thought I had it figured out before I had kids. Anybody who has parenting all figured out perfectly, probably not a parent. The truth is, and I'm talking to you as a parent, the truth is we all blow it as parents. I wish I could tell you that I was a perfect parent, but I'm not. I mean, it turned out okay. I have some great kids, and they have some great kids, but, I blew it along the way. There was a day when my oldest daughter, Jennifer, was in 5th grade, and I don't know how this exactly works, but, Mary Kay and I have the organizational gene. I mean, we make our beds in the morning. We have things that are all tidy. There's a place for everything and everything in its place. And somehow, that's just who we are. And I never realized until I had Jennifer that apparently that gene has a little thing to it. You know how you can have a major and a big thing and a little thing? I don't really know the biology there. But somehow, you could have children that don't be like you. And Jennifer didn't get that organizational thing. Everything has its time. So in 5th grade, she had a great teacher, and the teacher said, I think Jennifer is a pretty smart girl, but she doesn't always get her homework in time. And we're frustrated by this because, we've talked to Jennifer. We work with Jennifer every single night. She comes home. She does her homework. We put the homework in the thing. We send the child back. So how is it possible that she didn't have her homework done in time? So the teacher says, I think she has an organizational problem. Really? My child has an organizational problem? Well, I know organization. Let me help you out. And so I took Jennifer to her 5th grade classroom. After school, I thought I did it right because there were no kids around. And it was just the two of us, and we walked into her class, and I opened up the desk, and it looked like, that the bomb had gone off, all right? I mean, it was like she had to hold it down. It was weighted, and you opened it up, and things just exploded out. I may be exaggerating only slightly. But she had the homework there. She just couldn't find it. And so here's what Dad did in his infinite wisdom, and I wish I had that day back. I really do. But I dumped the desk on the ground, and then I got down on the floor with her, and I helped her to organize her desk. And we were there for, I don't know, probably better part of an hour. Now, here's the thing. I thought I was being cool. I thought I was, being Mr. Parent. But the reality is that she just didn't process information like I processed it. And if I had known that then, what I know now, I wouldn't have done what I did then. And, nothing happens in a school, even after hours, that all the other kids don't know about. And by the next morning, the word was out that Jennifer's dad had dumped her desk and that, she had to put it all back together again. All right? I mean, it was a tough time. I blew it. Was I right and she wrong? It doesn't matter. The reality is that I blew it. Parents, you're going to blow it. So here is the L. Learn from difficulties humbly. Humbly. That's where the word comes in. Humbly. Nothing makes someone humble faster than being a parent. Maybe you've blown it a time or two. Let me encourage you as I wrap this up with these verses. James 1, 2-4. And Brandy, you can come on up now. Dear brothers and sisters, whenever trouble comes your way, let it be an opportunity for joy. For when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be strong in character and ready for anything. I say this to you as an encouragement to you parents. You think that you're so faithful before you become a mom or dad, and then you become a mom or dad, and you realize, I don't have it all together. I have to have endurance. And nothing will challenge your faith more or increase your endurance more than becoming a mom or dad. Underline these words: chance to grow. Being a parent, look at it this way, being a parent is your chance to grow. And when you become a mom or dad, you'll understand that. I've asked Brandy to come up and sing a song that I think will help all of us to just reflect on our opportunity to grow as a mom or as a dad.